I want to commiserate with all of you going through this process of learning about Medicare, how and when to sign up, because the struggle is real. There's a reason people get stuck and feel overwhelmed, and it's not only that it's not a user-friendly system at all, but there are real actual pitfalls that you can find yourself stuck in, and that's what I'm covering today. The things I'm going to be discussing won't be about plans or coverages, but they're quirky rules, regulations, and possible penalties that you'll want to avoid when getting onto Medicare for the first time. These pitfalls are not commonly talked about, so I'm bringing you this information so you can avoid the same mistakes that others have made. I'm Pam Turner, the creator and facilitator of the Medicare Facebook group known as Navigating Medicare the Easy Way. I help you to put aside all those fears and worries about getting onto Medicare and enrolling in the right plan by streamlining the whole process for you. Most of these pitfalls I'm going to talk about today involve scenarios where you're enrolling in Medicare past age 65 and things to look out for when you get Part A and Part B on different start dates. It's becoming more and more common for people to keep working past age 65, and people often enroll in the free Medicare Part A and hold off on getting the Medicare Part B. I'm going to start with the most common pitfall that hardly anyone knows about, and that is pitfall number 1, getting a penalty for not proving you had creditable drug coverage. It's not commonly known that if you're still working when you turn 65 and enroll in Part A, that it triggers your eligibility to get a Part D drug plan. As far as Medicare is concerned, once you get Part A of Medicare, you should also be getting Part D, that's your pharmacy drug coverage, and this marks the date that you're first eligible for a drug plan. But why would you even consider enrolling in a drug plan if you have group health insurance? So no one expects that they'll receive a penalty when they finally do enroll in Part D. Here's the thing. As long as your employer plan's drug coverage is at least as good as Medicare's, you won't get a penalty, but the catch is you have to prove this once you do sign up for Part D. Once you do join the drug plan through Medicare, the drug plan company that you choose will send you a letter asking for you to verify that you had prior drug coverage. All you have to do is respond to this letter. This terminology for this creditable drug coverage means that it's at least as good as Medicare's drug coverage. You're at risk of getting this penalty if you're not aware of this at all. And here's why people get confused and tripped up. Many people have to prove that they had a group health plan when they're working and they sign up for Part B at a later date. And they assume that proving that they were covered by their work plan to get Part B is the same thing as getting a notice from their drug plan asking for proof. They may think, oh, I already did that when I sent in that proof for the Part B of Medicare, not realizing that these are completely separate things. Your group plan should send out a letter to anyone that is Medicare age and older documenting that your drug coverage is creditable, at least as good as Medicare. And this is a letter that you should hang on to. And if you don't or you never received it, you can request proof from your plan administrator at a later date. It's easy to overlook this letter altogether. So, this is before you sign up on Medicare and your group's sending out this stuff about you have creditable drug coverage. People usually just should throw it in the garbage because they don't know why they might need that. This penalty, if you do get one in the future, it can get overturned, but the problem is that it's a huge hassle. So the worst situation would be that if you accidentally get this penalty by finally noticing that you're paying way more than you should be, than you were expecting for your drug coverage. And when you inquire about it, you're informed that you have a penalty. So sometimes the notification of the penalty is the first time people take notice of this pitfall at all. And then they have to work even harder to unravel the whole mess and get it reversed. Now, this next pitfall has to do with holding off on Medicare when you don't have a valid reason to hold off on Medicare. Pitfall number 2 is holding off on getting Medicare altogether because you want to keep your marketplace plan. It can seem unfair that some people are able to get marketplace coverage for free, but when you turn 65, you have to suddenly pay $185 a month. But the reality is these two healthcare systems were created completely separately, and they've changed over time. Medicare over the years has determined that most people should pay a premium for Part B and decides what that premium shall be. Year to year, it tends to go up over time. The marketplace was created as entirely different legislation, and for many years, people that are qualifying for subsidies now couldn't qualify back then. At some point, the law changed and the income parameters were increased so more people could qualify to get low cost or free health insurance now. Once you become eligible for Medicare, you don't qualify to get the marketplace subsidy anymore. Even if you never canceled your marketplace plan, somehow your plan allowed you to continue on in it, and stay enrolled at the current rate, and you decided to hold off on Medicare, just because it's working for you now doesn't mean it's going to all crash down eventually. It's going to come back to bite you later. And this is because somewhere along the line, it's going to be discovered that you're getting the subsidy and you shouldn't be. Now, you would at least have to either pay more in taxes, pay back your subsidy. The worst consequence happened to somebody that I was helping a while back. Her insurance coverage was retroactively terminated. Gosh, back at least 6 months. All the health care she received over that time while she was on the plan was not going to be covered. She had to turn around, so they reversed the claims, and she had to pay for all of the health care services that she received during that time frame. You can imagine what a nightmare that must have been. Also, marketplace coverage is not a valid reason to escape a Medicare penalty for not signing up. The only valid exception is health insurance based on current employment. So on top of not being covered, you'd end up with a future Medicare penalty. Other types of insurance that don't protect you from a penalty are retiree insurance and COBRA insurance, although you do have 8 months from the time that you stop working to get Part B without a penalty. Pitfall number 3, enrolling in Part A at the same time you're contributing to an HSA account. This is another example of a pitfall that's not very well known. More and more people are continuing to work past age 65, and oftentimes that means signing up on Part A of Medicare first because it's free and continuing to work for a while before you get your Part B. Many of the employer plans use an HSA account, and this stands for Health Savings Account. This allows you to get a tax benefit by putting in pre-tax dollars to use for health expenses. But unfortunately, you're not allowed to contribute to your HSA while you're on Medicare, even if it's just Part A. An HSA account is the type of plan, so it's not FSA, it's a type of plan that you get to keep if you don't use it, if you still have funds left in there. For those that want to keep contributing, you need to hold off on signing up for Part A. After age 65, when you get close to retirement, you set the date, you're going to need to stop contributing to your HSA a full 6 months prior to signing up for Part A. This is because Medicare makes Part A retroactive backwards 6 months when you sign up past age 65. I don't know why this is, but it happens automatically, and at this current time, it's not preventable or reversible. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. And then what happens is the payments while you're contributing to your HSA overlaps with the time that you were enrolled in Part A of Medicare, and it creates a problem with your taxes. So do whatever you can to stop contributing to that HSA. Pitfall number 4, enrolling in an Advantage plan past age 65 when your Part A and Part B begin on different dates. When you sign up for Part A and B at different times and you want to enroll in an Advantage plan, it must start on the same day as your Part B starts. I know this is just really kind of sounds strange, but this is just the way it is. Or it has to be within 2 months of dropping a group health plan. So let me tell you a story to explain how this works. I was helping a referral. I'm going to call her Pat. This was her scenario. Now I'm going to explain how she got lucky. There was a little loophole, but she came very close to getting a penalty and not being fully covered. Pat had ended her group coverage around October of the prior year, and her Part B started on February 1st. Now I don't remember the reasoning behind that, but this is just how it was. Now, she didn't have any group health insurance at the time her Part B started. So the rule is when you already have Part A and you add Part B later, your enrollment window to get an Advantage plan is only the 3 months prior to your Part B start date. You don't get a full 3 months after like you do when you're turning 65. Isn't that crazy? So can you see how easy it is to get tripped up by these rules? There's no consistency or common sense with most of these Medicare rules. I asked this question in a Medicare agent Facebook group. 50% of the agents that responded to my question answered it wrong. Because of all these discrepancies in the answers I was getting, I kept digging and digging, and I found the answer on Medicare.gov. Now back to Pat. What happened with Pat is she never would have imagined that she couldn't choose a plan or have some time past February when her Part B started. She didn't even think about that. So now it would have been completely different if her group insurance ended at that same time. But like I said, it ended back in October. So now she lost the chance to get the Advantage plan. She was stuck. Normally she would have had to wait all the way until the fall to get the Advantage plan. Her only other option was to find a special enrollment situation. So she got lucky. If a Medicare Advantage plan is awarded 5 stars by Medicare in your zip code, anyone can enroll in that plan year-round. So that's what she did. She, like I said, she got lucky because not every zip code in the U.S. has a 5-star plan. That's totally hit or miss. If she hadn't had that opportunity, she would have had to wait until the fall open enrollment to get a Medicare Advantage plan. Turns out she didn't want Medigap. She would have been able to get a Medigap plan. That's another strange rule, right? You can get Medigap, but you can't get the Advantage if it doesn't start on your Part B date. So yeah, crazy rules. She also would have gotten a drug plan penalty if she had gone for a standalone drug plan. She wouldn't have been able to get a drug plan until the fall open enrollment either. So that is pitfall number 4. Now on to pitfall number 5, missing your opportunity to get a Medigap plan without health questions. Oftentimes people don't realize that you just can't switch back and forth between any plan during the annual open enrollment period. So when they're new to Medicare, they run the risk of making the wrong decision for the long term. When you don't realize that you have this one-time Medigap open enrollment that runs for 6 months from the time that your Part B starts, you run the risk of missing out on this chance to get it. So let me paint this picture. Say you're deciding which plan you want. You're new to Medicare. You're doing your research on the difference between Medigap and Advantage plans. You like the idea of Medigap plans, but you think, well, I just don't need that coverage right now. It's kind of pricey. Maybe I'll just wait until I need it and go with an Advantage plan right now and save on the monthly premium. Makes sense, right? After all, there's an open enrollment plan or open enrollment period. In the future, I can change, right? Actually, that's not true. This is a mistake for most states because you must realize that beyond your first 6 months on Part B of Medicare, beyond that first 6 months, now you could get a Medigap plan in the first 6 months, but beyond that, you can't just buy a Medigap plan in most states. You'd have to answer the health questions and you could be denied. The states that allow you to enroll in a Medigap plan anytime without health questions are New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Vermont. Now, I'm not saying that one plan or the other, Medigap or Advantage, is the best or there's a right or wrong way to go. I just want you to take this into consideration for making your very first plan decision when you're new to Medicare. Some people may take their enrollment into an Advantage plan a lot more seriously if they realize it may limit their options later. As a side note, there is a rule in place that lets you try out a Medicare Advantage plan for 1 whole year and still enroll in a Medigap plan later without health questions. Now, your Medicare A and B have to start on the exact same date, though, in most cases. Not another weird rule. Don't know why that is. That can be very limiting and not work for a lot of people. But there's another, so again, this is called the first year trial right, and there's another version of this. Let me explain. If you start out on a Medigap plan and then you decide to try out an Advantage plan for the first time, you can use the 1 year Advantage plan trial right in that scenario. To my knowledge, this second scenario, starting with Medigap, going to Advantage and going back to Medigap, doesn't require A and B to start on the exact same date to my knowledge. So there's that. So those are 2 different first year trials on the Medicare Advantage. You can ask a question about that down in the comments if you find that confusing. Pitfall number 6, signing up for Part B and then trying to cancel it just so you can change the start date of your Part B by a few months to save money. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you're signing up for Part B later, after you already had Part A for a while, you're coming off your group plan, if you don't put in the comments or where it says remarks on your application, it's just going to assign you the very next month for your Part B. It's not going to let you say maybe choose 2 or 3 months later. That means you're going to have to pay that extra premium if you made a mistake. But this is why I'm talking about this pitfall, because now this is different. So if you're holding off on Part B because you have insurance at work, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you want Part B, you go ahead and you sign up, but somehow you got the wrong start date. Now, I've seen people try to move that start date ahead a few months just to save some money, and it became a nightmare. Why would this become a nightmare? It's a nightmare if you're trying to change the date by only a few months, because you'll get your Medicare billing all messed up. The time it takes to cancel Part B and then reinstate it a few months later is going to take longer than the time frame that you're switching the start date to. So it's just going to drag everything out. It's going to feel like you don't even have insurance at one point. You're dealing with the government. Processing these changes is not quick. It's very, very slow. Here's where starting and then stopping Part B might be a good idea. Okay, you sign up for Part B, you get a brand new job with excellent benefits, and you decide, you know what, I don't want to pay for Part B right now. I'm going to cancel my Part B and join this new job's group health plan. As long as you plan to use the new group insurance for a long period of time, this is a good idea. Otherwise, if you're switching the date just for a few months, it's not worth the complications of stopping Part B and starting a few months later. Okay, just to recap, when it's a bad idea to change your Part B start date is if you're moving the date just a few months or trying to drop Part B and add it a few months later. This can ultimately create a delay in your Part B starting, and you're left not even knowing if the start date has been established. You can feel like you're in limbo for months waiting for it to process. It can prevent you from even signing up for supplemental coverage on time. So I've seen multiple people go through this, so this is the warning. So take heed if you fall into this. Now, for the final pitfall number 7, your coordination of benefits. This is a really important one, so listen up. It's been happening more and more and more. I've been having people reach out to me telling me about this. Your coordination of benefits is failing due to a group health plan being wrongly listed on your Medicare profile. What I mean by coordination of benefits is when you have other health insurance, it works along with Medicare. I'll explain this a little bit more. This is for anyone that has Medicare along with a group plan, especially if it's a large company and your group health insurance is the primary. That means the group pays first. Medicare benefits will pay after your group health plan, and Medicare won't pay until the group pays first. This holds true whether you have just Part A or both Part A and Part B. You're still working and you have a group health plan. Okay, you didn't get a supplement plan yet. Now, just from word of mouth, it seems like there's a higher than expected problem with Medicare not assigning the proper insurance as the primary once you're off the group plan. In other words, the group doesn't get removed from Medicare's records once you cancel it and retire and the benefits end. For example, so say you just have Part A, or even if you have A and B, and you have insurance with a large company. Okay, the health insurance is the primary. Since you're enrolled in Medicare, Medicare has a record of this plan being listed as the primary. Medicare won't pay until the group pays. Have heard and talked to so many people that have made this major mistake that once they were fully on Medicare and a supplement plan, the bills weren't getting paid. So even though they're no longer enrolled in the group plan, Medicare still thinks the group is the primary. And when the bills are getting sent to Medicare, they're sending it to that group plan still. Medicare's not paying anything. So Medicare is refusing to pay, all your claims are getting denied, and the supplement never got listed as your primary or as your secondary. So the supplement meanwhile isn't paying bills either. It's a huge mess. The way to remedy this is, first and foremost, start the enrollment process. Now, this is if you don't have the Part B yet, you're coming off your group, you're going to get signed up on Part B as early as possible. This is when you're joining Medicare again later, past age 65. That's all I'm talking about right now. Past age 65, maybe you haven't retired, you've gone 2-3 years past age 65 and you've just wanted to continue working and you've had Part A only, sometimes Part B. Okay, add your Part B if you haven't, as early as possible. Add your supplemental coverage also when your Part B goes through. As soon as your Medicare supplement plan processes and you're ready to start using Medicare and your supplement together, you've got to go into that Medicare portal. You've got to make sure the correct supplement plan is showing up and that your group plan is no longer listed as the secondary. Or if you have an Advantage plan, that Advantage plan should show as your primary. If you don't see the correct plan listed and your group plan is still showing in there, you've got to call. There's a special division in Medicare that you can call, and I'm going to tell you what it is and you can write this down. It's called the Benefits Coordination and Recovery Center, BCRC, Benefits Coordination and Recovery Center. I have a phone number too, but you can Google this, but the phone number is 855-798 2627. That concludes the top 7 pitfalls to avoid. I've seen these happen to a real person multiple times, every single one of them. It doesn't have to be this complicated for you, having to deal with all these pitfalls on your own when you have me in your corner. So I'm available to help you no matter where you are in your Medicare journey. My help is able to be 100% free because I get paid when people choose to work with me as their broker. But when you get on a call with me, I'm not going to pressure you to work with me. That's up to you to decide when it comes time to do your enrollments. All it takes is to get on a free call with me for 30 to 60 minutes, do a consultation, find out how to transition onto Medicare, if you've been working past age 65 and pick a plan. Or if you're already on Medicare, can you save money? Or maybe you can just keep the same coverage. It's always good to check these things out. Now, here's what's different about how I can help you with your Medicare. I teach you how everything works first before we even talk about companies and pricing, so that you can understand what I'm talking about and how things work. I make sure that you've worked out the proper timeline if you're new to Medicare leading up to getting that coverage. Based on what I go over with you on the call, I ask you, what are you leaning toward? What do you want to get pricing on, instead of just steering you toward one plan company or one plan type? I have access to all the pricing you need from every available plan without you having to commit to anything or get on a list where you're going to be spammed constantly. Enrollments through me are fast, secure, electronic. There's no scanning papers, faxing, waiting for paperwork in the mail. And the transition from your old plan to the new one's not going to be haphazard. So there's no worry about gaps in coverage or something going wrong. I communicate with the company that you sign up for you to make sure everything's processed and set to start on the right dates. It's easy to get on my calendar to book a call to get started, to either see if you can improve your existing Medicare or get set up on the best option from the start if you're new to Medicare. Now, you can visit the contact page on decodingmedicare.com to check my availability anytime and schedule a call there through my calendar link. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.